and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast. I'm varying up my intonation there to make it a little bit more exciting at the start, and my voice is the voice of Adam Cook, and I'm joined by another Adam Carroll.
Adam Cook, how are you doing?
I like this. Can you keep this up?
I'll try.
Can you keep it up? Well, also with us this week to talk about a game. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it, and I'm sure she can keep this up as well. Nicola Ardron.
Hello. Hi.
This is brilliant. Yep, this is it. Keep it up. Keep up this sort of bouncy kind of feeling. You're right, Nick.
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Excited.
Good, I'm glad. Yes, absolutely excited to talk about that mystery game that, well, I mean, people will already know because they'll have seen the artwork for the it doesn't matter. And now, finally, of course, with us this week, a person I know is going to be able to keep up this kind of high-voiced, bouncy facade. It's Gary Bailey.
Hi.
Oh, my God.
You wanted the high voice, so I went for it.
Yeah, and this is a cautionary tale of, sometimes you don't want what you think you want, do you, Gaz?
Yeah.
That was absolutely terrifying.
Good. Hey, well, it goes with my theme this week, with what I'll be talking about.
It does, actually, yeah. Yeah, the other mystery game that people won't have guessed by the title of the podcast, or the artwork. That's how this works. I don't know. It's we've said it before, we keep saying it, there's not much left now to come out, is there? There's some big games on the horizon. Of course, Red Dead's not far off, but before we get to Red Dead, of course, there is another enormous, and as I understand it is enormous open world. I have to be careful because I keep calling this the same. I mean, they've made a mistake with the both games starting with O, because I keep calling Assassin's Creed Odyssey Assassin's Creed Origins. But it's not called Origins, it's called Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And Nicola, you have poured your entire life into this game, have you not?
For the last week, I've done nothing but romp around in ancient Greece. It's been good.
I mean, I'll ask you the obvious question. This is a stupid question because everyone's going to answer the same. But which protagonist did you pick?
I picked Cassandra, Adam. Cassandra.
I can't imagine that's why. Why would you do that? I do want, before we get into it, right? I think we mentioned this the other week. I'm sure, Gaz, you were here. I find it so strange they're marketing this game with, is it Alexios?
Alexios, yeah.
Yeah, I find it so strange because from the very get-go, he seemed the least interesting of the two.
He just looks so generic. You know what I mean? He's just like generic hero dude. And then you've got Cassandra, who's this big fucking badass Spartan woman, and you're just like, why would I not pick her? Why would anyone not pick
Marvel is Cassandra. She's a goddess.
Well, go on, let loose then. Tell us. We'll start firing questions at you,
Sure.
but you've played so much of this game. I'm sure you're dying to talk about it.
I am, but now that you've put me under pressure, I'm like, oh, where do I start?
The spotlight.
Yeah, I've been playing it all week. It's really good. I really like it. I was a bit lukewarm on it. Not lukewarm, but I was a bit about it when I first started it.
Right.
Because it felt pretty much like it was just Origins, but reskinned for ancient Greece.
So what changed and when? Because it's a long game. You know what I mean? And there has to be a bit of a period where it's like, look, we're just settling you in.
Yeah.
But it sounds, it's a long game.
It kind of gradually grew on me. And before I knew it, I was really digging it. But the thing is it kind of, you're being introduced to new mechanics for quite an extended period of time. So, I'd say 10, 12, 13 hours in, I was being introduced to new stuff, which is kind of a little bit like, oh, so I've just got to grips with this thing, and now you've thrown up something else for me to kind of focus on.
How drastic? Because I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's stuff like that in other games where, like, a new thing happened. Like, like the original God of War games, you'd get a new weapon, and that would change things up. Like, what are we? I mean, without spoiling too much, because obviously when people listen to this, the game won't be out. I don't think. They're doing that Ultimate Edition thing where you can pay extra to get it early, aren't they? Like all the games are doing now. But what are we talking? Like what? How is it? Was it Brotherhood, the second Assassin's Creed 2, where they had the whole Brotherhood thing? Like, are we talking that kind of thing where it's like a whole other thing?
Yeah, kind of. So you've got your main story that you're following, and that is, you're trying to piece together your past. Really, you've had a bit of a tragic childhood, and you're trying to piece together what's happened in your past, and that takes you all over Greece. However, there's these other mechanics within the game that are just kind of there, and you kind of dip into them or ignore them or whatever, but they're there. And one of them is this thing called mercenaries. So a bit like the Phylakes in Origins, they are super powerful NPCs who hunt you down. Now, the way that the mercenaries start chasing you is that if you do stuff in the world, like if you if you steal or you kill an animal, like you're on somebody's farm and I don't know, a chicken attacks you and you kill the chicken. That happens, They're like these roosters, they go crazy. And you kill a chicken, or you maybe steal a horse or whatever, or you murder somebody. That raises your bounty level. So there'll be an individual within the town or city that you're in.
Like GTA stars?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
But, you have to do a certain amount. But if you do so much of this consistently, you'll be brought to the attention of a dignitary within a settlement who will place a bounty on your head and send a mercenary after you. And this mercenary will hunt you down. And they may be the same level as you, they may be under your level, or they may be a level above you. But they will hunt you mercilessly until such time as either you kill them or you are incognito for long enough that the guy who set the bounty on your head just kind of goes, oh, whatever, I'm not
So you
bothered.
can hide from them?
You can,
Because
yeah.
it's sort of worrying me a bit there. Like, if they're just going to keep... Like Nemesis almost, where no matter what you do...
Yeah.
He keeps coming after you, like Resident Evil Nemesis, like if you're like massively underleveled, that was worrying me a bit.
No. So you can kind of avoid it. Like you'll get a warning, again, a bit like the Phylakes from Origins, you'll get a warning that one's nearby, so you can choose to okay, they're over there, I'm just going to run off in this direction and hopefully they won't find me. Should you kill one of them, that will remove the bounty, it's gone. That mercenary obviously is no longer going to be chasing you down, but you then move up a step on the mercenary hierarchy. So there's 9 tiers of these mercenaries that you can gradually climb up. So you can choose, once you've identified one, just by riding around, once you've identified one, you can go and choose to hunt them down should you wish. You don't even need to have a bounty on your head. If that's what you want to focus on, is moving up this mercenary ladder. Now, there are benefits to doing that, because as you move through each tier, you get permanent stat boosts, or things like shopping. You might get reduced costs and what have you. So there are some benefits to doing it. Then the other thing that's going on is, obviously, Odyssey is set during the Peloponnesian War. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Between...
Well, it's fine. I'm going to pretend I didn't have to Google it when you wrote it in the review.
It's this war that's obviously between Athens and Sparta. So this is going on in the background. And each time you arrive in a new region... that region will have an allegiance, so they might be under Spartan leadership or they might be under Athenian leadership. And by doing stuff in the world like destroying their war chest or burning war supplies and killing key sort of figures within that leadership, you'll weaken them to a point where there'll then be like a turf war, and you can then go and partake in the main war. Kind of like a strategy game, like a Total War type strategy game, where it's action. You actually go to a battlefield and you can pledge your sword to either Sparta or the Athenians. One will be normal difficulty, the other one will be hard difficulty with scaled rewards. and you can
Cool.
go and fight, and if you win, then the allegiance, so let's say you were in, I don't know, Athens, which is obviously under Athenian leadership. You've weakened the Athenian leadership, you've gone to a battle, you've pledged for Sparta. You can then actually change now. Athens is now under Spartan control.
Are these like raids?
No.
Like you're talking about difficulty and how there's this separate big battle thing and.
Not really, no.
Okay.
It's just basically you go to the commander of the faction, choose to, pledge your sword to them, and then you get transferred to a battle where, Athenians and Spartans are fighting, and you kind of just get stuck in the fray and take down various leaders that are highlighted after you've done a certain amount of killing. One of the leaders will pop up, and if you kill them, that'll then reduce the influence a little bit more. So basically you've got this tug of war going on, and if you're successful, obviously then the allegiance changes. It kind of sounds better than it is, though, because it's a bit it's just something that's there. And it's also something that the longer I've played feels a little bit like it's never ending, that there's always going to be something, like if it's kind of a clearly like sort of really gamey way of making you continue to play, because you can just be constantly dicking about. Do you know what I mean? Dicking about, switching allegiances in different regions. One thing that did occur to me, though, is that I do wonder whether you could then, like in real life, the Peloponnesian War was won by Sparta. So I do kind of wonder, it would be interesting to see whether you could actually turn it so that all of the regions are now under Athenian control, and whether you could actually end the war with an Athenian win. I don't know. That would be kind of cool to do, but it'd be really grindy to do.
I mean, you mentioned pledging your sword, and I feel like it would be remiss of me to not try and get you to segue somehow. I mean, I'm sure, like Gary, of all people, is massively interested in the sword pledging in terms of, like, there's relationships in this game and sexy times, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, yeah. Yeah.
That's all Gary wants, is a sexy time game.
It's just Gary. He wants to know. I know. Listen, Gary, I don't want to sell him out. Off the cast, he was just saying, I just need to know about the sex. Is there sex? Are there naked men and women in this game? I just need to know. I didn't want to embarrass you, Gaz, but he did want to know. Are there, Nicola?
No.
Gary wants to know.
Oh, it's very
sorry, Gary.
Although there is plenty of marble penis, if that's what you're into, I suppose.
I think you're going to have to explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw someone put up a video of that on Twitter, I think it was, and it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the level of.
On your like spawn island when you first start, you start on the island of Kefalonia, and right in the middle is a huge statue of Zeus, and he's naked. And you climb Zeus. You climb Zeus and synchronise.
But of course,
like on the tip of his. Sorry. Sorry.
Wait, what?
On the tip of his lightning rod. You synchronise. Right? However, like I cannot tell you. I messaged Adam about this earlier on today. I can't tell you the mental strength it took for me not to take a picture of me climbing up the penis, because I've been in trouble with Sony twice this year for penis-related
your graphic imagery that you
and I couldn't risk a third strike.
The third strike for a marble penis.
I couldn't risk a third strike, but let me tell you, it was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do, not snapping that, I tell you.
Yeah, that's a question
Moment
to
of the
answer,
year.
isn't it? Like, so Nicola, why were you banned from PlayStation Network? Penis pictures.
Marble.
Too many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got told off for uploading that picture of the pendulous penis from Conan Exiles, didn't I?
But what was the other one then? I remember that. But what was the other one?
It was that No Man's Sky penis that I made.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yeah. Yeah. That's a weird one. Like that is a weird one, right? I mean, I don't. Where do we even go from here?
Anyway, yeah. Sorry. So no, there is no nudity.
There's no.
But
is that all right? Is it? Because like, not being funny,
For the times.
games have tried it and they've not done it well. Pardon, Adam.
Are you saying, is it okay to not have it because, like, of the times it seems like it would be in this kind of game?
There's plenty going on.
I think of the times they were all having it. Yeah,
there's plenty going on. I took part in an orgy with a goat.
Yeah,
there was a goat
thank
present.
you. Yeah, please, don't.
Not sure why.
Again, I don't even think that needs explaining. I think that's just.
I have a couple of things I just want to find out. With regarding the actual combat, is it? Because I felt they were onto something in Origins, and I feel that the length of time it has been since Origins, I don't really know or feel like they were going to like tighten it as much as I think they should have, because it's not like it's not a bad idea where they're going with the combat, but I think it still was quite messy for me in Origins. Like, so that also leads into this other part of the question where, is it, I know they can't, but is it about time that we stop calling it Assassin's Creed? Because I just don't think they're letting you be assassins anymore. I think we're now just...
See, I thought in Origins it's the first time I was actually able to play stealthy properly for ages. With that bow and arrow.
The stealth was shit enough, I gotta say. The stealth has been...
Okay.
The stealth for me personally has been really bad, like, in these games. Like, I don't think it's ever been properly nailed. And Origins, like... I said this before, but you could be like miles away and you could shoot a knife or a dagger or something. They know exactly where you are, and that's
that part of it. Okay,
that whole side of it is defeating the whole purpose of stealth, because you're supposed to try and take them down at some point. But if they're going to know every single time I attack for the first time, that's annoying. And I think like the Odyssey, like I really hope that. I don't, like, especially with the design that is, like being a Spartan and stuff like that, I don't know it's going to leave you be that, because you're kicking people in the fucking chest and this and everything.
Yeah,
so like,
spark
like
kick.
which is probably another thing you can explain. But I just want to know: is the combat the same first,
Yes.
or is it like ever so slightly? So it's the exact same.
It's the same. I can't really say that I felt like there was any real discernible difference. Obviously, the skills that you can assign your points to do mix it up a little bit, but ultimately it is the same. With regards to the stealth, I do find that I have been more successful with stealth than I have in the past. And I haven't felt that, you know, like if I do a long-range takedown or whatever of an enemy, it doesn't expose my position. It hasn't exposed my position. They have to have got a line of view on me. It may well alert the other members that something's going down, but they don't know where I am. I can remain incognito and obviously move around.
The amount of things that Nicola has said that could be just taken out of this podcast, from marble penis to things going down.
Yeah, I've got it's a special skill.
I can't actually hear anything else. It really, like, honestly, anyone who's listening now, rewind 60 seconds and tell me if near enough everything Nicola just said didn't sound like a double entendre.
It's a skill.
Because I can't hear anything but that now. I'm sorry.
It's a skill.
See,
it's a brilliant skill.
just to play kind of devil's advocate with that though, is like that's great. Like it's well, not all right, Adam.
Not that, yeah, okay. I've gone. It's gone now. It's like my brain is broken now. I can't. Say something really awful so I can.
Oh, stop! It's brilliant that like to hear that the stealth and stuff is slightly improved upon, but I now feel that like this is probably the first Assassin's Creed game that I'm looking at, and when you look at even like the cover art and stuff, and you see the soldier or like on front or whatever, I don't see him fucking hiding in a tree like throwing like I just don't see that. I see him being in the war and just kicking people in the chest, and that's where I'm kind of like I'm down for that. I'm up for doing that now, but where is the series going in its like general concept?
Well,
that's my thing.
I do kind of agree with you a little bit there, because one of the things I wrote in my notes was that it felt like an Assassin's Creed in all but name. Because, like Origins, you can do, you sneaking about and you go and do an assassination. However, if the enemy is like an elite enemy or a level above you, that jab in the back of the kidneys or whatever isn't enough to kill them, and you end up having to fight them anyway. That does happen in Odyssey as well, which kind of is like, well, I've got the drop on this fella, why have I not got enough power to kill them?
Oh, it still does
that.
Yeah.
However, what I find interesting with Odyssey is that they've really leaned into the RPG stuff that they started in Origins. And in particular, that comes through in the skills tree that you've got. So you've got 3 areas where you can put your skills into. You've got Warrior, of which the Sparta kick is in it. You've got Hunter, which is all focused around sort of arrows and, taking distant shots and the predator shots back and stuff like that. And then you've got Assassin, which is about sneaking and, assassination damage and poison and things like that. So you can kind of play a role. Now, initially, I pumped a lot of points into Assassin because I thought, right, I want to be a sneaky bastard and, get around and do everything silently without being seen. And to a certain extent, you can play it like that. But I found that the further I've got, the more requirements of points as I've needed in Warrior and Hunter, just to inevitably you end up in a sword fight anyway. With not having enough points in Warrior, you're kind of a bit stuffed. You can do things like in other trees, like throw down a blinding, like a flashbang, but it's not obviously a flashbang because we're talking about ancient Greece. But you can do something to temporarily blind your opponents, which allows you to get a few jibs in. But to be honest, the warrior skill tree is the one that you want to pump the points in if you're going to be doing a lot of face-to-face battles. And it I like the fact that you can choose these different trees, but ultimately you kind of need to have a balance of points across all 3 areas. Otherwise, you're going to be a bit stuffed. So.
I have two questions left to ask, if that's cool. One is, it just has to be asked because coming off of the back of Spider-Man and the whole enjoyment of getting around that city, and it's really fast and everything, is this game's world too big? And if I'm honest, I thought when I played Origins, when I opened that map initially, I was like, this is cool and all, but I'm not going to go through all of this. And this is
not to cut you off there. I want to just back up what you're saying. Like the reason, because I love the Assassin's Creed series, right? I don't know if I've ever really said that. I've played every one of them, and I've pretty much liked them all. I'm the guy who'll defend the first game because at the time it was great. I know it was bettered and it showed the first one up for what it wasn't, but at the time when you only had Assassin's Creed, I thought that game was really cool and interesting. But the reason I haven't played Origins all the way through, and I have it, and I've on 2 separate occasions tried to get through it, is that every time I sit down and have a good session with it, I look at the map and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I can't. Well, this game. And Nicola's described this a lot to me, and it sounds bigger.
It is. I'd say it is, but it has boats, a la Black Flag in it.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot
so,
that.
And I didn't even mention this in my review because it's just another thing that I haven't actually spent a great deal of time with because the actual battle stuff I find a bit, it's not really my bag. I didn't enjoy it in Origins. Black Flag I'm a bit about. But you can do the same thing, the sea battles. You can go out and be a scourge of the Aegean. But, so yes, the world is huge, but there's a lot of empty space in that world that you travel through with your boat.
But I don't think that's kind of acceptable right now, if I'm honest, because I'm like, like like as I said, Spidey is just one of those things I have to use as an example. That when you're at the bottom of a map and at the very top of the map you see that green backpack, in your head you're going, yes, I'm delighted it's so far away because I get to swing around the place and it's amazing and it's all great, right? You take Assassin's Creed, and if you're out there trying to platinum this, which lately I've been really into now since doing Spidey, I'm just wanting trophies. The thing
seems to be a thing that's come fashionable again. Like,
it has. But if I look at the map and I see, there's like a skin, and that's where that animal is, and it's all the way
it's the
there.
Assassin's Creed feathers, isn't it? Like the original one, they did it with the feathers.
Yeah. So then the thing is, you have to get in a boat, and I understand that is the way the traversal works in the game. You're not going to get webs and swing around the place. I understand that.
What if you could, Adam?
What if
you could?
But the thing is though, as you just said there, Nicola, empty space. I don't want going around in a boat is not really that fun to me. It is fine. I don't think anyone ever comes out of Assassin's Creed games going, oh my god, going around in the boat, I can't get over it. It's amazing. It's just incredible.
Can I just play devil's advocate on this for a sec?
Yeah.
This isn't a Spider-Man game. This isn't like an action game. It's more of an RPG.
All right.
Which is where the Assassin's Creed games are going. So don't you think?
No.
Like kind of like The Witcher did it.
Let me push that further and say, in a world where Red Dead Redemption, I think is it 10 days after Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
Yeah,
I think ish. But in a world where that's coming out, okay,
it's about
let's
20
say a couple
days.
of weeks. Okay, so all right, in a world where Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out in the same month as Odyssey, and people are talking about the fact that a horse's bollocks will change size due to heat or cold, in a world with that level of detail.
Yeah, but can you ride a unicorn, Adam, in Red Dead Redemption? Can you? Because you can in Odyssey. You can ride a unicorn that has rainbows that come out of its hooves.
But does it
I was worried where you were going with
Nicola?
That. You what? Sorry, Adam.
Does it have heat-sensitive bollocks, though? That's the thing.
I don't know.
Are unicorns all female? Actually, I've raised them.
Who knows? They're
not real, are they? I suppose. So,
they're not real.
I suppose we'll never know.
As a counterpoint to that argument that it's a huge map, yes, it is a huge map. I'd say it's probably the size of Origins, maybe bigger. I don't really know. But the areas are levelled. There's level requirements to go to them. So it isn't a case of oh my god, I've got this huge map, I can go anywhere in it. You can go anywhere in it at any time. However, at level 5, you're not really going to want to bumble along to an island that's like a level 42 because that you're going to get smashed. So
sounds like Morrowind.
The way that the map unveils itself is kind of slow because you're moving through these areas as part of the main story. So you kind of get to them when the story dictates that you should be there, and obviously your level dictates. So it doesn't. I know what you're saying in terms of Spider-Man has this wonderful traversal, and actually, fast travel isn't a thing. I never use the fast travel other than to get the trophy.
The trophy, absolutely, to get the trophy.
The thing is,
the fast travel thing. I don't want to use fast travel ever in a game personally, but I just think and this is actually adding in the second question, which is to have a game this size, and one of my biggest gripes with Assassin's Creed was the side quest, the approaching of the NPCs, talking to them and actually feeling like I give a shit about wanting to do this side quest. And that to me was if they could nail that side of it, where I don't feel like I'm talking to some just poorly designed NPC.
That's what God of War and Spider-Man do quite well, in that all the side questy stuff feels linked to the world.
It feels like the world and to you.
Yeah, I say that to a certain extent the side quests are linked to various other things, either through the main quest or through the Eyes of Cosmos, which is the the Templar precursors. So doing side quests actually impact other parts of the story. For example, a side quest that I did earlier on today actually impacted the faction leadership. Once I'd finished, I'd ended up weakening the leadership of that particular city-state. Other ones I've done have led me to clues that I need to uncover the next Eye of Cosmos that I need to track down. So they are kind of linked. Plus there's some like other comedic ones, like there's the guy who I had an orgy with who repeatedly comes up and sends me on ridiculous missions. Like one of the missions I had to do was I had to take a package, literally a package, to a fella, and then when the fella opened it, it was a cast of somebody's penis, with a note saying, "This is for your wife." when she misses me. So there's lots of like silly quests, and there's quests that like you meet Socrates, and he sends you on quests about a lot of his philosophical ideals. Like, is one life intrinsically more valuable than another life, and he sends you on a mission that has you making a decision on that philosophical point. Another one about freedom of speech and whether somebody who has dangerous ideals should be allowed to speak, and you go on a mission around that, and again you have to make these decisions. So there are some interesting side quests. They're written well,
which is something I'm glad to hear, because I don't know, I think side quests are a thing that people don't really like. Even you could have the worst set of side quests, I just don't feel like people ever say it. They just always pass it off as like it's just a side quest.
It's just not the main story, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but still, like, why can't we have like
No, I agree.
Extremely exciting side quests?
Well,
and
The Witcher 3 showed that side quests can be just as exciting and interesting as the main quest.
And GTA.
Well, I think God of War does it well as well, the new one. I didn't
dive much into those ones.
I don't really want to say what I'm thinking of because Nicola hasn't played it yet, and it is a real nice, cool moment. So I'm not going to. But no, there's literally no way of even saying it. But yeah, some of the side quest stuff. I'm aware we've talked about Odyssey for over half an hour, but I do feel there's one thing we haven't talked about, and I think if we don't ask Nicola about it, like, we're kind of not doing our due diligence. One of the big things with Odyssey is they've added the Mass Effect conversation stuff and supposedly impact upon the world. And obviously, like, when I mentioned the relationship stuff, obviously I'm guessing that stuff comes from conversations. But like, what are we? Is it Mass Effect style? What are we looking at here?
I mean, yeah, there are changes that you make. I mean, in terms of their significance, I'm a bit. I don't really know. I feel like they're a bit more of a footnote than anything significant. I mean, early on, you get a quest that you make a decision, and like I've then found out, several hours later that I'd caused a huge plague on an island to wipe them out. But was
it a penis plague? I mean, you went with
no, a blood fever plague. And I was like, oh, that's bad news. And then I went back to the island, and that yes, things had changed. People were burning bodies in the streets and stuff. But Jesus. That's kind of cool thinking about it. When I've said that is kind of cool that I have changed that place. But it
caused the plague.
But it doesn't impact in any other way than, oh right, I've done that, have I? And I've accidentally caused the death of somebody else. But again, it kind of doesn't. I've done it, and I'm like, well, never mind. It doesn't impact.
It continues to be a menace.
It doesn't seem to impact in meaningful ways. And I sound like a right cruel. I've decimated a town with a plague.
That sounds quite meaningful.
No, but I mean, in terms of like changing the direction that your story goes in. That's kind of what I mean.
Okay.
It doesn't.
So you're changing the world, not your fortunes, so to speak.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it has any impact on the way that the story is kind of playing out.
Okay. But to play devil's advocate slightly, in a lot of these games, it's the illusion of choice, isn't it? You think you're changing stuff, but really, ultimately, it's you don't. So to play devil's advocate slightly, it's quite cool that there are actual changes happening in the world, because I guess it's easier, is it, to affect the world than it is to change the narrative that you're driving through.
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
But at least it's doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to... Listen, I haven't played it. I've got no dog in this race at all. But I'm pleased to hear that it's not just lip service.
Yeah. No, there is stuff that changes. I mean, it was only because I was reminded twice about a very early mission that I even bothered to go back. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go and check. For review purposes, I'm going to go back and check just to see.
Be sure.
And I went on the island, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I have done some things here."
I did this.
Other than that, if I hadn't have gone back to the island, I'd have just got the message flash. Like it actually wasn't even a message that flashed up. It's Barnabas, who is my ship fella. He just said, "Oh, we've had a note back from this place saying that a blood plague fever has broken out and it's wiped out 70% of the population."
We had a question about bloody hell, murdering. Yeah, Nicola Ardron is still a menace, I think is the. But before we leave Odyssey completely for this week, Tracy, aka Missy at mysterious_gal, actually sent a question in that we would normally ask in listener correspondence, but it's specific to this game. I think we've kind of answered it, but just in case, she wants to know: do you agree that AC Odyssey is just a reskin of Origins to appeal to the people who, in inverted commas, campaigned for a playable female lead in the main AC titles? I think you've kind of answered that, really.
I think the short answer to that is no. I don't think that. Yeah. But I can see... I mean, I had similar feelings when I first started playing. I felt that Odyssey was just a reskin of Origins. And to a certain extent, it is, the way that you move around, the synchronisation points.
It's built on that game's base, isn't it?
Yeah. So I can see that. However, I do think that it's taken another step forward. Origins had certainly built a foundation of where the series is likely to head. And I think Odyssey is another step forward. Maybe not as dramatic a step as Origins was, but it's certainly another step because of the dialogue stuff, the fact that you can impact in some way the world. Cassandra is great. She's brilliant. I've really enjoyed playing as her. And I've met the other fella, and he seems amusing, actually. So I may have a little go as him, just to see the slight differences.
Is there a chance he's getting a bit of a raw doing, and he actually might be quite a fun character to play? Do you think?
Suspect.
I know you can't answer if he is.
Having met him and seen how he is, I suspect that he could be... Well, he's going to have the same lines that Cassandra has got, because I can't imagine that the line... I think it's going to be a case of, femme shep and male shepherd from Mass Effect.
You reckon?
It's the same lines, however, it's going to be about how that particular voice actor has interpreted them. And
fair point.
So, but I get the feeling that Alexios is just as playful as Cassandra is, but Cassandra's just she's a buff goddess, and I'm a little bit in love with her, if I'm honest.
That's a fair point.
Very quickly, and it's a yes or no question, really. Do they keep the Destiny style menu?
Yes.
Of course they have.
Yes.
Awful.
That's a modern
10.
trend.
Yes.
There's a modern trend in gaming that has to go away instantly.
It's awful. I thought really it was going to be just me who finds that incredibly annoying.
It's not a mouse and keyboard game. So stop trying to make it like one. It's annoying.
I have one sort of final question, another quick one. Does it have modern day stuff in this one?
Yes.
Or have they moved away from it?
Good question.
Yes. But I totally forgot that it was even there.
So it's okay. So it really doesn't.
It's the same.
To be fair, Origins doesn't do a lot.
It's the same as Layla Hassan,
She seemed that reasonably likeable
yeah,
in
I do
what I
quite
played
like
of Origins.
her, but I've literally played 30 minutes. You start off, you have a little bit of an intro at the beginning, and then you launch into Animus, and then, like, I don't know, 15 hours later, you come out of Animus. You have a little
that's
chat.
if they're going to keep doing it, that's what it needs to be.
You have a little mooch around that you don't even really have to do. There's a few, like, Easter eggy stuff, like there's a little Rabbids thing on a shelf, and you have a little mooch around, get a bit of backstory.
That makes me think they're listening.
And then you go back into the Animus, and literally 20 hours later, I got oofed out. In fact, I'd completely forgotten, and it's had this weird loading screen. And I was going, like a bit like a Doctor Who, ever decreasing circle thing. It was just going on. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then I was like booted out, and all of a sudden I'm Layla Hassan again. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot about that. And that was literally a 10-minute segment. And then I was straight back in the Animus again. So it's there, but it's negligible at the moment.
That's what it needs to be.
Yeah,
that is great to hear.
This is the first Assassin's Creed in a long time that I have an interest in. Knowing that there's not much of that and stuff, I'm kind of tempted maybe to pick it up, at least maybe not on launch, but further down the line.
You see, you say that like that gives me a perfect segue, Gaz, because I'm a bit surprised that of all the games and all the publishers in all of the industry, that Ubisoft are the one going, we'll take on Red Dead, because gamers only have so much money. Critics only have so much money to buy games, and like, to pretend anything other than October is not about Red Dead 2 is naive at best and
a little bit
kind of stupid at worst. But there is another game coming out after Red Dead, which I remember the reveals of and thought that could be cool, but it probably won't be. And lo and behold, I forgot all about this game. Completely forgot it existed.
You're not the only one.
Until preview code literally appeared on PC for Call of Cthulhu. And then, again, I gave it to Gary, and I thought, well, let's see what it's like. You never know. And then his preview came in. And fucking hell, if this game didn't rocket right up my list of games I need in my life right now, Gaz.
Yeah, I was kind of saying, like, I'd completely forgot this game even existed. And I thought back and was like, they call it the Cthulhu games in general have never really taken off. So the fact that someone's taking on another one is kind of like, okay, well, we'll see. It's probably maybe average at best, kind of thing.
So what kind of game is this? Like, later on we'll have some video to show people. But what genre, what style of game is Call of Cthulhu?
It's a first-person game.
Okay.
It's like, I suppose the closest thing I could say is it's a bit Amnesia in the way things play out. But I don't know, there's like dialogue trees, or dialogue wheels, I should say. There's like an RPG mechanic kind of thing in that, when you start, you're this detective who's down on his luck, and he's not been getting any cases. And then he gets like a call basically from, I guess the closest thing I can think of is like a head office kind of thing, saying you'll lose your license if you don't start taking cases. But at the same time, she's like, but I'm sorry, we have to do this again. We need to take your details, kind of thing, just to make sure everything's up to date. And then you go, okay, cool. And it puts you into this menu that then goes, put your points into these different things on your character. Which initially
kind of
I was
a Fallout
like,
intro.
Yeah, I was kind of like, okay. I didn't expect that in this kind of game. But it works out not too bad, because it's all like investigative things. Wow, that was great English.
We got it. We got it.
And so it's kind of like your knowledge of medicine and the occult, and then your strength of will. So like, if you come up against someone who's a bit like they're hiding something, you can kind of poke the bear almost, and just see if it works. And if you've got a strong enough will, they'll break, and then they'll give you the answers, kind of thing. So although it's weird and it's a little out of place, it still kind of works. Because there's a lot there's a lot of dialogue stuff in this, because you're a detective, and it's kind of part of it. It's not just, here's a dark mansion, go and explore it and get eaten alive by weird things or something like that. It's
There's a line in your preview, Gaz, that Adam Carroll needs to hear.
Oh.
Regarding your favourite game series.
I think I know the one you're going on about.
Share with Adam Carroll what you say. I mean, you can read it, but he can't see the future, so you'll have to tell him now.
I'll have to find it now. Give me a minute.
Okay. Well, but it's regarding Resident Evil series.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I just want to be sure that I am reading the exact right line. You had to put me on the spot, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I said, assuming this is the reason, because I'm pretty certain I don't mention it anywhere else on there.
It definitely is.
Yeah, not since Resident Evil 7 have I felt so gripped by the atmosphere of a game.
Oh.
Is it just that line?
That's the one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I read that, and I was like, that was instantly the moment I was like, okay,
There's no
you have
way
my
I
attention.
would have. There's no way I would have thought in your preview you'd be putting in Resident Evil. That is
Absolutely.
like whatever game you're comparing in the series, but the fact they're dropping Resident Evil and its atmosphere, which is like kind of like probably the reason we go to like the likes of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, is those atmosphere kind of games. I'm super keen on this. I totally did forget about it as well until it was brought up that we're talking about it this week. And it's a real shame because it seems like you are clearly enjoying it, guys, and stuff. And this is coming from a short story from H.P. Lovecraft, who I don't know much of his work, but I've read a bit, like Reanimator and stuff like that. And I'm a fan, but this because I think Focus Home, are they the crew that released Vampire as well during the year? And that's another one that I've kind of looked at, and I know the reviews are out there for and it's kind of mixed, but I kind of like where they're going with their horror style. And Cthulhu seems to have a similar kind of atmosphere as Vampire in a way, like that Victorian Gothic thing. In terms of general horror aspect, guys, say if you're going to compare to Resident Evil 7, where does it sit in terms of fear? And because you mentioned Amnesia there as well, that believe it or not, a bit of a little thing. I've never actually played that series of games, and I have them sitting there, and I've yet to actually go through the Amnesia collection.
But the first game is fucking terrifying.
Yeah,
the second one is I couldn't play. The second one is so horrible because it's
Machine for Pigs. That one.
Oh, sorry. No, I mean the actual numbered sequel. Oh no, I'm thinking of Outlast. I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Two.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of Outlast 2. Yeah, which is I found unplayable because it was so horrible. Sorry, no, completely different series. But please ignore me.
Just where does the fear stand?
It's a weird one because I kind of say this in the preview. There's not really any threat in the entire the preview's 3 hours worth or around about that, and the entire time I never felt a threat. Nothing really came after me. But
that's okay too.
Absolutely.
It's this weird kind of oppressive atmosphere that you just always think something's round here. Even when I was I was suspected I was near the end of the preview. Just because the way it kind of ramped up, I was like, okay, right, yeah, this looks like it's getting there. But even then, I was kind of they can't be throwing anything at me now. But at the same time, I was like, but what if they do? And it's just, it's really bizarre the way it feels.
And are you using actual is there combat in this game?
I don't know yet. There is I looked at the control scheme. Yeah, I looked at the control scheme, and there is a shoot button. But I never used it.
Okay.
I never got a weapon in the entire time because, the first sort of, I suppose, the first hour is you're speaking to people. You're going around this dock town.
I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all about the investigative side. You are trying to find the whole thing. I should sort of start at the beginning a little bit. The whole thing is this dude comes to you, this old dude, his daughter and her family died in a fire. and it's like, okay, the case is closed, but for whatever reason, someone is trying to point the finger at this dude's daughter, like the girl in the fire, the mum of this family, and he's like, why? I don't, I need to know what's going on. And all he does is he shows you this painting of hers, which is fucking weird, but it's kind of like there's a bit of intrigue in there straight away, and so you go to this dockside town where her and her family lived, and let's say you get there, and the whole thing is you're just talking to people, trying to find out a little bit about this family, trying to find out where their warehouse is, because you need to get in there to look for clues and stuff like that. And I mean, let's say it again, there's just that atmosphere, because it's like, The Wicker Man, when is it Edward Woodward? He goes to the town, obviously, like,
sorry.
and everyone's kind of, they're essentially against him. Nobody wants him to be prodding they don't want him looking in the back rooms, kind of thing. And it's like that, they kind of like, the police are all, look, we've closed this case, we don't want you around here. And there's something just always there that you just like, I don't like this, but I want to know more.
That, if I'm honest, because I gotta say that, like, if this game nails its atmosphere for me, and it's just you being an actual detective going around, and it just kind of doesn't really bring forward the whole, oh no, you have a crowbar and attack this weird thing in the basement. Like, if they kind of get rid of that, I'm fine with that, because I haven't really played, like, Jesus Christ, like, when was the last time I played an actual detective-y kind of game aside from
L.A. Noire?
But even at that combat, I'm talking like, well, I suppose this is going ahead of it. Like, Broken Sword to me is, I know that's a point and click kind of thing, but
I don't
like, investigating where it's not where combat is on the side. L.A. Noire is probably the next one, definitely, but because of like where it's set and stuff, I'm keen in what this is sounding like.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
same, but I would say I need to temper expectations for myself, because, like, this is a horrible thing to say, but, like, it's got to be said. Cyanide Studios are developing this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've made, like, Tour de France games, Space Hulk, Deathwing, and, like, the Styx games. But, to be fair, the Styx games were, like, good 7s out of 10s they got,
Yeah.
I think there's definitely potential. Focus Home Interactive generally have a lot of studios like that. I mean, let's not forget, like you say, Vampire was Dontnod. It's...
Yeah.
There's I don't know, I mean...
it's weird, like, they do... Like, I'm just looking at
the build doesn't have combat, which is interesting. And feels deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just... With this one, though, I just think there's just something about it.
What about the protagonist?
Yeah. Like, he seems quite good, because sometimes you think, okay, this guy's... He's essentially
he looks generic
a drunk.
as fuck, really. When you're looking at him, he kind of looks like me.
I hadn't thought about that until now. Yeah, but it's like... Most of the time, these kind of characters... That whole detective kind of style, the dicks, basically. And this guy, you kind of expect him to be, because he's a drunk. He's kind of a substance abuser. He's, like, knocking back sleeping pills and stuff like that. Or, well, not sleeping pills. It's like a medicine, because it's set in the 20s kind of thing. But he's also, like, ridiculously intelligent. And
Calpol.
But it's like, he is actually a fairly likeable character. You kind of root for him. I think it kind of helps that you're going into this place where nobody wants him. So you're like, okay, you're being a dick to me, so it's fine. Whatever. I'll go back straight at you. It's fine. Like, one of the first things is you go into this bar, and there's a dude sat at the bar, and he just spits at your feet, and then turns away. So you're like, okay, but then in this cutscene, your guy then just kicks his seat, so he smashes his face on the bar, and he's just like, oh, sorry, get this man a drink, and it's proper like, fuck you, but also,
Right.
you know, I'm just going to be nice to the barman because I want answers from him. You know, it's little things like that I think quite, like, they work, and they build a character that you kind of root for.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Gary,
there's a
I'm
lot
up for
into
it.
this. There's I just mentioned briefly, there's like an insanity or a sanity kind of thing going on. I've not
Right.
seen much of it, but there is a moment where you're kind of in a cave full of fish bits and stuff. It's pretty grim. And you're covered in blood, and you start having a panic attack. And you've got
Wow.
to get out of that area basically before it gets too much. And that's the kind of thing where when you go into like the character menu, you've got all your bit where you can put your points into this, that, and the other. But there's also the sanity section as well, which kind of has a lot of levels. There's only 2 levels on mine at that point. But I'm guessing it's a case of if you're not careful, you can really mess things up because you'll start to see things or something. You know, there's potential for that to be really, really good.
Well, you mentioned likeable characters, and I feel like that's the ideal segue for you to also talk about Megaman 11.
God, this game pissed me off.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna zone out here because it's a series I've never liked.
Yeah.
I've actually played a bit of this as well.
Okay, you two go for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's Mega Man. You know, like
Yeah.
anyone who's played Mega Man will know exactly how this plays
Hard
because
as fuck.
it's Mega Man.
Hard or unfair?
Bit of both. There are some really kind
Oh,
of
that's an improvement then.
there's some really twatty moments in it. Like that's I suppose that's quite northern.
A technical
of me to say
term.
that, but
That's a technical term.
yeah, it's just a lot of it. I mean, I say this in the review. It's just some of the issues that I have are that some of the platforming mechanics still have the same flaws as they did on the NES. And they're like, I don't think it's acceptable that I know they're making it for the fans, but you need to improve it as well. You can't just make the exact same game and just expect anyone to be like, oh yeah, that's fine, because it's still just Mega Man. And it's like, no, because some of it's just fucking annoying. And like, I've lost lives because I've tried to make a jump which didn't quite work because there's like this weird, I don't know, like there's this weird thing where it stops you jumping like immediately after you've landed, kind of thing. You know, like you can't do another jump. You have to wait
Right.
a moment, and when you're requiring that split second timing and you have to be moving quickly because there's something chasing you, it just bothers me because it's just like that to me feels like poor design, and I don't think it should be acceptable just because it's Mega Man, just because people are like, oh yeah, this is a classic. It's like,
But Gaz, it was acceptable in the 80s.
yeah. That's,
Thanks, Nick. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
I'm gonna just say straight out that I just think the Mega Man games are simply not fun. They're just not fun to play. I got that collection when it came out just because I knew nothing about Mega Man as such.
Yeah.
Only that it's kind of critically acclaimed by some people, and like they're just too hard for me. I'm just no good at this game. Like, and I like the thing is, I understand what it's doing. I get it, but like I went along in one particular level and I got to the boss. And do you know when it does that thing where it's like, here's the boss, and it kind of locks you in this room, and you're like, boss time.
Yeah.
Like, it did that, and then I'm kind of like, okay, cool. And it has those bosses that just explodes like loads of random fucking things out, and you're trying to dodge everything to shoot one little part of the enemy, do you know? And next minute before you know it, you're dead, and then you're back to the very start of the level. And I'm like, I didn't in any way even remotely figure out what I was supposed to do there. And I know now that when I go back again, I'm going to have to die because I need to try and figure out quickly, and then go back again and back again. And then, to me, I'm just done. And I just don't think, like, the actual, like, gameplay is that tight. I don't know what it is. I just think, like, he's just really loose and just... I just don't feel like I'm really in control. It's awkward. Comparing it to something like as tight as like what Dead Cells did for me personally. Do you
Celeste.
know Celeste, like they're like tight. It's kind of almost to a point that if you die, it's kind of your mistake. You aren't fast enough or something. Mega Man is just, it feels clunky to me. And I know there's a lot of people who are probably going to be like, holy shit, is he seriously saying that? But it's, for me, it's just how it is. Like this is, what, Mega Man 11? 11.
Yeah, but it's not actually the 11th game. It's just the 11th in that main.
It's about the 25th.
There must be people out there clamouring for it, though, because they wouldn't put the money into developing it. But I just don't get, in the day and age where there are games like Celeste that can do difficulty, but that doesn't feel like it's actually beating the shit out of you, unfairly. Like, I don't get it.
I think there's definitely still the audience because of how people reacted to, like, when Mighty Number 9 was announced.
Yeah.
And, like, people were genuinely...
that was a rough game.
Oh, that was rough. But, like, people were very excited because they were constantly saying, oh, it's Mega Man, Mega Man, Mega Man. So, like, I don't know, maybe it's just we're not hearing about it because it is just this month. It is Red Dead, and that is straight up it. There's a lot of these games that are just going to be for their audience who want it, and that's it, and they're going to be happy. But I don't know really how many people are going to be at this one.
I mean, I was very political, I think, with my review. I don't know if that's it's like I had to really.
I was surprised the score came. Not the text did match the score, but I was surprised having spoken to you about the game. Or when I read the review, I was surprised, if you know what I mean.
I had to kind of...
It's a difficult game to review, Gaz, to be fair, because it's not being made for anyone that isn't a Mega Man fan. Mm-hmm. It's like criticising FIFA and saying, oh, there's a bit too much football in it. It's made for people who like football games. There is an element, I think, with a Mega Man game of it is what it is. Does it do what it sets out to do? Well, it does. It does, but I can't sit there and say I love it because I don't.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had to do. I had to take out like my personal feelings because I know.
Don't say that, Gaz. Don't
you know what
say
I mean?
That.
Like I had
for
to.
fuck's sake, don't say in the review on God is a Geek. I had to take my personal feelings out of it.
No, you know what I mean.
Don't
Like,
say
it's
that.
like because you saw how much I ranted about it on our Slack channel.
Oh,
like,
you're an angry man.
For fuck's sake, I was legit getting angry at that game, and I was like, you know what, I'm turning this off, and I'm coming back to it later.
Did you not use the phrase, if I wasn't reviewing this, I'd have deleted it by now?
Yep.
Or something like that,
I remember that,
and that's absolutely true.
I'm sure it was something like that.
Yeah, because it's just, that was one of the things, I just didn't enjoy most of it. There were parts, like I did say in the review, there were parts where it was actually genuinely quite fun. But they were just kind of too few and far between for me personally. But I had to kind of look beyond that and go, look, this isn't a game for like me technically. This is like you were saying, does it do what it set out to do and does it do it well? And it's like technically yes. So I had to just kind of take out that bit of me that was like, I want to shit all over this game because it made me angry. And just go, right, okay, yeah, this is actually, technically it is quite a good game, but yeah, it just needs, it needs improvement if it wants to build a bigger audience, but I just don't think it ever will.
I don't think it
wants to.
I think visually it looks fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I think like
the
colours are just like popping out of the screen, and there's so much character and all the like
the soundtrack as well. The soundtrack is so fun and just cool.
And I don't know if this is in previous Mega Man games. It seems like it's a new mechanic that they brought in that you can like slow down time.
Yeah, that's a new thing for this one.
You can
that's new.
You can project this kind of like dude that you just like jump on and he springs you up and then he just disappears.
Oh,
and you're like,
that Rush is an ongoing thing. He's been there pretty all along.
Right. But like I don't know, like I'd be interested to hear a Mega Man fan's opinion on this, like because I'm not seeing, it's not for me, and like guys, you obviously have your review and stuff coming up. I'd just be interested to see, has it done enough after all this time for fans? Are they like, it's amazing, it's everything that I wanted? I'd be just super keen on hearing that.
I mean,
Gaz, you gave me the segue, mate.
Oh, dear.
Could you do it? The fans, doing it for the fans, doing everything that they ever wanted. Oh, Gaz. I'll never recover from this. Go on. Finish your Mega Man. I mean, go on.
You put me right off. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, then I'm sorry, but you have to come up with something, and you have to link it so I can take. It has to be that good a link. So pressure. Nicola was on the spot. Now it's your turn.
No, I've remembered what I was going to say, but it's not going to help you.
Well, adjust it accordingly. Because I'm not cutting this.
All I was going to say is I'd be interested to see what other reviewers think.
Just repeat what he said at the end. Just repeat what Adam said at the end of this bit.
Oh, I don't know. I can't help you.
Well, speaking of things you don't know, you never knew that Sony were going to be the hero again. This doesn't... Gaz, it was perfect. It was perfect. Like, it was literally there, dangling in front of me.
Combo breaker.
It was just there. That was... Yeah, combo breaker. Combo breaker, yeah. Fortnite crossplay is now a thing. What's that? You say it already was? Not if you were into a Sony console, it wasn't. So Sony put out this statement. Do you know what? I'm actually going to see if I can find the statement, because the statement's real weird. Like, real weird. I'm just going to read it. But I'm assuming you guys all know roughly what we're talking about here. The PlayStation blog basically come out and said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And did they say open beta? Open beta, yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you've been living in the dark, just in case, the big story was everyone did crossplay. Sony said no, we're not doing it. Blah blah blah. They kept saying we're not going to do it, and eventually Fortnite has just got big enough where it's like Sony have decided we're going to do it. Here's the statement. My God. Following a comprehensive evaluation process, Sony Interactive Entertainment has identified a path towards supporting cross-platform features for select third-party content. We recognise that PS4 players have been eagerly awaiting an update, and we appreciate the community's continued patience as we have navigated through this issue to find a solution. I'm going to stop there, because my God, could you be any more dry about this? Could you possibly drain any of the soul out of this? So the first step will be an open beta beginning today, which this is obviously in the past. It's allowed cross-platform gameplay between everything. We see here we go, we're back again now. We see the beta as an opportunity to conduct thorough testing that ensures cross-platform play is best on PlayStation. That doesn't make any sense, by the way. That doesn't make any sense. That's almost sounds like they're saying we see this as a chance to make sure our players get an advantage. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, sorry. From both a technical and social perspective, still doesn't make any sense.
Nope. So that's not the point of cross-play. It's the cross-platform play is just to let everyone play together, not that our version is still the best.
That's right, yeah. Can I just remind everyone... Oh, by the way, it isn't the best, because PC users are always going to have that best, and Xbox One X, the game is incredible, in terms of performance. But can I just point out that Sony were dead against this, and have now decided they're not against this? And... the thing I think people need to remember, do you remember that Epic accidentally switched this on?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it actually worked for a little while. Why are Sony acting like this is any more of a big deal than Epic flicking a switch that allows it to happen when they already did it once before? Are they trying to pretend that didn't happen?
I think. I mean, that's the bizarre thing.
Why make us into something?
I mean, they've kind of said, haven't they? It's not as easy as just flicking a switch. It's like,
but it literally
kind of is. It's already been done once before, but yeah, I think it's kind of damage control.
What is happening at Sony at the moment? Because they've gone from being I've got a thing. We'll get onto this actually. I've got a thing that they sent when they launched the PS4, like a box with For the Players on it and my name on it and everything and it's that whole kind of outreach thing of For the Players. To now, Nintendo and Xbox are doing a trailer together advertising Minecraft.
Yeah.
Or Sony are putting this dry balls statement out, how they've identified a path towards supporting it and navigated through this issue. The issue, by the way, which was they didn't let it happen. Yeah. That's the issue. The issue they've navigated through here is them not So they've basically argued with themselves and they've changed their stance. I love my PS4. I'm enjoying Spider-Man a great deal. I'm playing FIFA on it now. I don't know where I'll play Red Dead. I don't actually care. I just want to play it. You know what I mean? At this point, I ain't fussed. This is... Don't get me wrong. It's great. But I don't know if this signals the kind of breaking of the dam, because to continue down this statement goes on. I'm going to skip a little bit around here. Today, the communities around some games have evolved to the point where cross-platform experiences add significant values to players. That, again, not to break down every part of this statement, but yeah, because like my kids, as has always been the case from when I was a child and my mate had a SNES and I had a Mega Drive or whatever, you know, like Adam, I think like we've talked about this before, like people from where we're from weren't both. You were one or the other. You couldn't have both. That you didn't have that money.
Yeah.
But nowadays we have the technology that doesn't matter. But so my kids play on Xbox. Most of their friends do as well, but a few of them play on PlayStation. They're not going to go and buy an Xbox because they want to play Fortnite with their friends. This doesn't hurt anyone. This is just good. And again, the statement goes on, and if it wasn't dry enough, strap yourselves in, folks, it's getting drier. In recognition of this, we have completed a thorough analysis of the business mechanics required to ensure that the PlayStation experience for users remains intact today and in the future as we look to open up the platform. Now, there's a glimmer of light there that they may do this with other games. Perhaps Rocket League, again, is another one. But, they even say this represents a major policy change. We are now in the planning process across the organisation to support this change. We will update the community once we have more details to share, including more specifics regarding the time frame and what it means for other titles. This feels like, to me, an early signifier for the next generation. Microsoft have been out there talking up a big game where they know the Xbox isn't the PlayStation. They know the PlayStation sold gangbusters. They realise the best way to do this is to use Microsoft Xbox as a platform and sell games through it. So, in other words, you can play Fortnite. That's a bad example. You can play Minecraft on your iOS device with your friends on Xbox. They don't care as long as you're playing through their services.
Yeah.
This feels like a little bit of a kind of, okay, the future's coming. Maybe. Do we think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
A little bit, yeah.
Excited, though? It's exciting, I think.
It's exciting. To be honest, it's a bit of sorcery, Adam. Because today...
Yeah, it's magic, isn't it?
My son, he plays on Xbox and all his school friends play on Xbox. However, he's got a completely different group of friends, i.e. his football team friends, who all play on PlayStation.
Absolutely same. Yep.
And they've been mithering him for ages, going, oh, I really want to play Fortnite. And he's going, yeah, well, I'm on Xbox. And they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you, I've got PlayStation, oh my god. Like kids do. And today, he came into the living room when me and Rich were watching fucking golf for some reason.
Sorry to hear, Nick. Sorry to hear that.
Sunday, we were watching the golf.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I'm playing with such and such, who's on his Saturday team. And I was like, oh. And I was really interested, actually, because I wanted to know how you did it. Because I was like, well, I don't really understand. Do you add them as a friend? But then that doesn't quite... But it's through the Epic account, which that makes sense. Once I saw it in action...
works really well, actually.
Yeah, once I saw it in action, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it was really cool. He was playing with PS4 people. And that's... I can't see any downside to that at all.
No, I mean, well, we did it on stream, didn't we, a while back?
Yeah, I was on PC.
Yeah, I was on Xbox and... Nicola, did you play that?
With Fortnite, Adam was on PC.
And it's like... and it worked really well.
Yeah, but that's within the same ecosystem. So that isn't... I mean, it was cool, but it isn't quite as impressive as Xbox playing with PS4
Well, no, I mean,
I
was on separate, because I was on my PC Epic account, so I was on a separate thing. But imagine if the future means that like 4 people in a team can be 1 PC, 1 Switch, 1 Xbox, 1 PS4. Well, that's amazing.
Let me tell you, before today, my son plays with a pal of his who plays on PC Fortnite. He plays with, obviously, Xbox players, but he also plays with somebody who plays on Switch, and then somebody else who plays it on mobile.
Yeah, a friend of my boys plays almost exclusively on iPad, and I do not get it.
I don't understand it either. But it's a girl, apparently, a girl from his school, who...
Nick. Go on.
You never know. There's a girl from his school who...
Future daughter-in-law there, is it, Nick?
Who knows? Who bloody knows? He's not interested at the minute. But yeah, she's obviously heard them all talking about Fortnite and has asked if she can play, and she plays it on iOS. And I'm like... But
that's awesome. That's
insane.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's insane, but it's so cool that it's getting everyone... Like, you can have a go at Fortnite if you want, but it's been a real nice community thing. I've loved seeing all my kids' mates playing, regardless of where they're from, because it's so accessible. I don't know why I'm talking about Fallout. I meant to say Fortnite, but that's because I'm looking at the next story, I think.
Anyway,
it's been a long week. Well, let's talk about Fallout very briefly then.
Yes.
The beta is coming on all 3 platforms.
Is that an
open
one, Adam? Is that an open beta? Or is it
closed? Is not. It is. If you pre-order on Xbox One, you get it on October 23rd.
Right.
PC and PS4 get it on October 30th. Pre-ordering is the only way to get the beta. And they've released the intro for it, and I'm like, I hate when people do that. I hate when developers release the intro to the game. I don't want to watch that. Sorry, I don't want to see the intro to the game.
I'm a bit disappointed that it's pre-order only, because I'm not prepared to pre-order something that I'm unsure about. I mean, I'm mad keen on it.
Agreed.
Don't get me wrong. I'm mad keen on it because I love Fallout and I love those kind of cooperative survival games. So it kind of ticks all the boxes for me. But I kind of would have... An open beta sounds to me like a more logical choice.
An actual beta.
Yeah, well, it just sounds a bit, because I'm sure there's people like me who are going to be like, well, I love Fallout and I love this, but I'm not quite sure how Fallout's going to work as an online, survival game. I know betas aren't supposed to be demos, but they are, aren't they?
A beta has to be... Well, you said it, actually. I'd just be repeating what you said there. I mean, listen, with a bit of luck, I assume we normally would get a code for that kind of thing. We'll check it out. We'll let you know what we think, assuming we're allowed to, if it sounds like it is a closed beta, or at least not an open beta. Very, very quickly, Codemasters have announced Dirt 3. Dirt 2. I don't know where the 3 came from there. Dirt Rally 2.0, which I think is an awful game name. Don't call it Dirt Rally 2.0. Call it Dirt Rally 2. Fine. Don't call it Dirt Rally 2.0. I think it's a nod
to Colin McRae too, because that was 2.0.
Absolutely fine. Still a bad name, though.
I agree.
Thank you. Good. Okay. February 26th, 2019. Don't really know much about it. It takes you to 6 rally locations. Codemasters are good at racing games, no question. But I wonder if we're past the point where games are going to do big numbers if they're just specific, like this is a rally game. Because Forza Horizon 4 has rally stuff in it. And I think a game that's just a rally game would have to be so special to make me want to play that more than Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
it's a bit unfair. I'm judging a game I haven't played, but you know what I mean.
I think another problem it's going to have is it's releasing like pretty much the same week as like everything else. It's what is it, the 26th, and it's like the 22nd when there's about 3 or 4 big games coming out. So it's going to, considering like racing games,
February 26th.
Yeah, I mean like racing games don't exactly sell massive numbers these days unless it's something like a Gran Turismo or Forza, that kind of thing. So this being a rally game as well, it's a niche within a niche.
Yep.
Also releasing at the same time as all these games, I think it's just going to get lost.
Kind of makes me think about Onrush. And how that was a really good game, but didn't sell, and then they shut the studio down.
Yeah.
Interesting one here, the last story this week. Castlevania Requiem, Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood officially announced for PS4, out October 26th. Now, I am very excited for this because those are some damn fine Castlevania games. And I like the Castlevania games. And just this part of me thinks maybe Konami will make a new one and it'd be good.
I wonder if this is a test bed. It's like, we'll release this.
Well,
weirdly only on PS4, though. I don't quite understand that. But
they're kind of on Xbox, aren't they, already?
Well, the Symphony of the Night is on compatibility.
But
don't think Rondo of Blood is.
Rondo of Blood was the PSP?
Yeah, it was on the
What was on
PSP game that they released, and it was it was an unlockable.
That's right. I mean, these are some damn good Castlevanias.
Yeah,
like
they're
I do hope that it is, Konami going, okay, look, we know Castlevania's like it's getting big again. Let's face it, the Netflix series has kickstarted something there.
Yep.
And yeah, in fact, doesn't it release on the same day the Netflix series starts again?
I think it's the same day or it's the day after.
Yeah, so it's around the same time. So they're obviously doing something with that. But I really hope it's a case of going, right, okay, let's see how it does. If it does well.
October 26th. Sorry, Gaz. Yeah, no, they're both October 26th.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully it does well, and someone at Konami sees sense and goes, let's make a new proper Castlevania. I know people like Lords of Shadow, but I thought it was garbage.
Or whatever. That's it,
Lords of Shadow.
First one was really good.
Mirror of Fate was really good.
The
spin-off one.
Was that the
3DS
remote
one?
portable one? I thought that was really good, but everyone said it was shit.
I thought that was good. Mirror of Fate was brilliant, but I hated the Lords of Shadow, the normal games. I never played. Wow. I only played
the first one was great.
Yeah, I just didn't. I know it was. It wasn't meant to be a proper Castlevania game. It was kind of doing something different. But for me, it was like it wasn't even. It shouldn't have had the Castlevania name. Like it had nothing to do with Castlevania.
Oh no, it did, man. It did.
I think just the way
it's kind of they tried to do what God of War did. Really? Are you sure you played the same game?
I did. I just didn't. It did nothing for me.
Do we need to get the caravan of bad opinions out?
It's been a while. To be fair, Nick, he's been pretty good recently, hasn't he? Give him some credit. He's trying. You got to give him some credit.
I got to say that I'm very keen to see how this will actually do, though. No, it's not like
I think it'll do very well.
Like I'm well up for playing like Rondo of Blood because I've never actually had the opportunity to play it.
It's cheap as well.
Oh,
yeah, it's €20.
Yeah, it's like
I'm all over this.
I think it's down for about over here. I think it's down for about £16 or something like that. But it's about £12 if you've got PlayStation Plus. If you,
that's some good value for some good Castlevania games.
They have said apparently that trophies are going to be like really difficult, which I do expect. But I just think like
it will be like 206% or whatever it is, 203%. I can't remember.
If you haven't played Symphony of the Night, and you're kind of debating this, debate no more. Like this is like essential purchasing, especially
they hold up. They hold up.
Oh man, I have Symphony on my Vita. Like if you have a Vita, you can get it there, and I have it on my Vita, and it's still amazing. And I just think that game is something else in terms of platforming. And as you said, Adam, it holds up. It really holds up,
like surprisingly so. Let's do some listener correspondence. We had one already, but let's get back into it now. Darren for ROTMM. Speaking of silly season, he says, as we now know, seasons change everything. I don't know what that's a reference to, I'm going to be honest.
Forza Horizon.
It is a Forza thing. Okay, yeah. I thought it might be because he likes his racing games. Which season and why is your favourite season? Let's go with Nicola first.
Oh, I don't know. I often switch and change between spring and autumn. Spring, because it's the end of winter and you get all the lovely pretty trees with all the blossoming and it starts to warm up. That's really nice. But then I really like autumn as well, when it starts to cool down and the leaves change colour, and my birthday's in autumn, so...
But you've got to pick one, Nicola. You've got to pick one.
I don't know. Spring.
No, I'm sorry. That's okay. It's fine. Spring. That's good. Okay, because I know what mine is, and there's 4 seasons and there's 4 of us. Can we do this?
No.
You're going to go on,
Who's
Gaz?
going to be the miserable bastard that says winter?
No, Gaz is going to say spring.
I am.
Fuck it, Gaz. Listen, you've been doing podcasts for a while now. I gave you the... you just had to lie. It's entertainment. Go on, why spring?
Mainly because it's kind of like that... You kind of get the best bits of winter and the best bits of summer kind of meshing into one. And I kind of like that.
So you ruined the potential... for people for that. Okay, I'm gonna say autumn because I feel like it's not too hot and not too cold, and that's kind of just right for me. And it's just you can have some nice crisp mornings, which really wake you up, which I definitely need. But then you can get some really warm bits as well.
And it's got my birthday. Obviously, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's the number one reason. yeah. I do like winter, by the way. I do.
Really?
I'm sorry to say that,
Really?
but there's a line in the song, "We love the winter, it brings us closer together." And I know it's a
but
cliche.
you're not going to be hearing the fucking song when you go outside, like. It's not going to be singing down from the skies at you, like. You know, winter's awful.
Adam, not all of us walk outside naked. Some of us put clothes on.
See, the thing is, though,
I look good with a scarf and hat as well, and I kind of like that. I've got a nice winter coat that even I like. You know, you look all right there, mate. You know, even I do that, and I'm thinking, well, hey. If I think that, I must look fucking great. And I think look, summer and that is great. It's obviously lovely to be warm, but it's like, yeah, you got your shorts, your t-shirt, or your shirt. Winter, I don't want to say this because it's going to damage my reputation, but you can accessorise a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can push the boat out a little bit. You know, nice pair of shoes, nice coat, nice scarf, decent beanie.
Do you feel you get like slightly thrown off though on like say it's like winter
in the winter regularly,
and then one particular day you wake up and it's like super like nice and sunny and it's warm, and all of a sudden your whole hat and jacket situation is gone up in the air and you're now flustered because you're like wondering should you put on a pair of fucking shorts or something.
Mate, when you look as good as I do in this scarf and coat, you don't get flustered. You walk around and you're the Fonz. I'm going around smashing jukeboxes, man, and
mirrors
like,
all over your houses there.
Absolutely, mate. It's the only time of year that I'm like, you know, listen, you can't see how fat I am because I've got a big coat on. It's cool.
Bee Gees goes on. You
know, that is what's playing in my head as I walk around. Maybe some Right Said Fred. I don't know. What's your favourite season, Ad?
It's going to be autumn.
Okay.
Fucking love leaves.
Yeah.
The thing
that's
is,
fine.
can we just say as well with Adam in Canada?
Oh wow!
Winter's like serious business.
We're like today isn't great. Like the weather here now, if I'm honest, is so crazy, right? It's so temperamental because it'll just be sunny out of nowhere, and then just the worst rain will just hit, and we're leading into that now. It's kind of like summer is now well and truly over here, and October is when it's apparently going to like rain. People have said it rained here like for like 8 weeks straight, like every day, every single day, every minute of the day, 8 weeks of rain. Like that just sounds awful. Like I'm not excited. Like to be honest, it's an excuse to just stay in and play video games. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
It's all right with it. Can I just point out that we are an English-speaking podcast talking about the weather, and so we should move on.
Yeah, I forgot we were actually on about games. I was like, yeah, weather talk. Let's go for it.
Listen, it's good weather talk.
We've already talked fashion. Why not?
Well, we didn't get into it, but that's for another day. David Ayres wants to know, and he's been specific, what's the least sexiest name? And his example is Walter. I'm going to just say Gary.
Oh, thanks.
I don't know. That doesn't mean he's not a sexy person, Nicola. You're laughing away there.
I'd go with like Dwayne.
I'm going to say Alan. I just can't imagine anyone screaming Alan in the throes of ecstasy.
See, the worst thing about that is my dad's name's
Christ.
Alan, and that's just put all sorts of images in my head that I don't want.
Okay. I mean, listen, counterpick. I mean, he doesn't say it has to be a male name.
No, that's true.
I'm gonna have to say, in male words, I just think Ronald. Ronald is.
Well, you think of Ronald McDonald, don't you?
Well, like it's kind of like ever since I heard of Ronald McDonald, I was like, that's an unfortunate first name, really.
Oh, Ronald Reagan.
No, like I'm gonna say it. I just looked up here the 5 least sexy male names, and number 5 is Howard. Number 4 is Dick, which is like
surely Dick is technically the sexiest name.
Like it speaks for itself. Number 3 is Norman.
What? The idea of screaming the word "dick" in the throes of ecstasy is actually quite tickling to me.
So, number 3 is Norman. Number 2 is Ernest. And number 1 is kind of misplaced, I feel. Bob. I don't think Bob is bad.
No, I've never met a bad Bob.
Bob is... But I always feel every Bob I've met is a character. And just to quickly round up as well, the least sexy female names. Yep. This is a bad selection, if I'm honest. Number 5, Mildred.
I haven't heard the name Mildred in some time.
Number 4, Ethel.
Yep, all right.
Number 3, Agnes.
These are just the oldest names, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking at least sexy female names. Number 2. This is a bit of a doozy, this one. Bertha.
My God.
That's a bit of a doozy now. Bertha, you sexy thing. Gertrude?
Gertrude.
Gertrude?
I mean,
That's
so
number
sexy
1.
Adam's never heard it said out loud before. That's amazing.
So there you go.
So what was the least sexy male? It was Bob, you said?
Bob is number 1. I'm going to try and have a look here. There has to be... Because you know the way these lists, there's always like
Sure,
a million of them.
it is a bit odd there, isn't it? Because all the female names are really old-fashioned names. Where's your
Old-fashioned
Reginalds
names.
and your...
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Clifford.
Yeah,
Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, you go into Reddit then, like, I was like, Reddit will give me a good answer, and the first name I see is Scrotum Hat.
I
The mistake there was going to
they're
Reddit.
not wrong. Is this a whole thing? Is there like a whole thing of people discussing names?
Oh, like Reddit, if you type in Reddit, it'll say, what is the least sexy name?
Scrotum, what was it? Scrotum what?
Scrotum Hat.
Is that the username, or are they saying it's an actual name?
No, that's the name that they're just messing, like, obviously.
Okay.
But,
well, listen, after Chris Martin called his kid Apple, I don't know, like, names are names, aren't they? Whatever.
what's the name? What was the name of that first one that I didn't know? Gertrude, isn't it?
Gertrude. Yeah.
Gertrude. That's
And
popping
still
up a load here. A guy has just said my mum's name is Gertrude. It's fucking awful.
My mum's name's Roberta.
Roberta.
That's kind of
She hates
mysterious
it, but I
sounding.
like it. She's Bobby for sure.
What?
Oh, it just came up.
See, Bobby's a nice name. What about Nicola? Like, what would be the least sexiest name for you, for male or female, or both?
Well, I don't know really.
What springs to mind?
Like a Reginald. Or
What about Dave? What does Dave stand?
it's a bit boring, isn't
Dave.
it? Dave. It is boring. I wouldn't
By the
say
way,
it's unsexy, but it's just a bit dull.
Just a reminder that the person sent the question's called David Ayres,
bit
and I didn't realise that
boring.
when I said it. But
Dave. I don't know. It's alright. It's not unsexy. It's a bit...
he's gonna
I got-
like that you said that.
Do you know what, right? I know when we're picking names here, right? When we're talking about this, we're going to be going for ones that are a bit like you don't really hear as often, I suppose. But I have to say, this one popped up here. I really wouldn't like to be called Randy.
I mean,
No.
do you mean the name Randy
Yeah, like
or the
Randy
feeling?
Pitchford, isn't it? Randy.
Well, like, I'm not like if someone's going to say he's always Randy, like that. I'm meaning it by a name, like.
Do you know?
Isn't
let
that
me just
normal,
say,
like,
actually,
short for Randall, though?
I don't know. I think Randy's Randy.
Right.
Do you know? It's one of those words that I don't feel has been used as much since like the late 80s, early 90s. Randy. Do you know what I mean? It's
It
one of
was
those
used a
words
bit
you
when,
don't really hear it. He's feeling
When Austin
Randy.
Powers came along, it was used a bit.
Oh yeah, Randy,
It sort of made a bit
baby.
of a
whoever it
comeback. But, yeah. It's
You
not
just
really a word
reminded
that's used
me
anymore.
when I did that interview with one of the devs for Titanfall 2 ages back. Right, the dude was called Dusty Welch, I think his surname was.
That's right. That
And
sounds
he
filthy.
was ace. I really, really liked him. But I remember when I
no doubt.
posted on Twitter. I remember when I posted on Twitter the link to the interview that I'd done, and my fucking autocorrect on my phone changed his name to Rusty Welch. Or Rusty Welk or something. I think it was Rusty Welk. And I didn't notice. I didn't notice. And I posted it out and then was like flicking through my timeline and somebody had responded to it going, oh, whatever, thanks for this link,
Probably
whatever.
not that, yeah.
And then I was like, fucking hell. He's not,
taking the piss.
called Rusty Welk, he's called Dusty Welch.
I kind of wish he was called Rusty Welk.
Anyway.
Let's move away from sexy names. Although nobody mentioned the name Willie, which is a real name.
Yeah.
Well, I did say Dick, and it's not far off.
Yeah, but Dick's a bit on the nose. Let's go for Willie.
Is it really?
Yeah, leave it, Gaz. You filthy, mate. I'm telling you, you're a wrong 'un. Thomas, the last one this week, he sent a few questions. I'm just going to pick the one which I feel reflects this podcast the most. There's 3 questions here, but I'm just going to ask the one I feel that has, it's a reflection of us as a group of people talking about video games. Thomas at Llama Fluff 42 asks, have you noticed the shallowness of tin and the paucity of fudges in Quality Street? What can be done about it? Now, I think this is a really, really important thing. I'm a big fan of a fucking big old tin of Quality Street at Christmas. I'm a big fan of that. And I'm a big fan of buying them, maybe 2 or 3 of them, just so they're stored away in case, But I'm not so much a big fan of the fact they're already in shops, because they're only a £5. They are shallow. They are a smaller tin. They're not even a tin. They're a box now, aren't they? I'm not too fussed about the paucity of fudges. I'm a bit more concerned about the fact that there seems to be a lot of coconut ones in there. That's concerning to me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I love coconut, so...
Well, you would. I mean, get the caravan out.
I like coconut
He's back
too.
on his
I'll
bush.
have to go in with Gary.
Nicola.
And also, I'm going to definitely be confined to the caravan of bad opinions. I'm not right bothered about chocolate. You've gone quiet, guys.
No, I've nothing. I've no joke.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a bit speechless.
I can kind of, if I had to, between Quality Street and Roses or Heroes, I guess I'd go maybe Roses.
Adam actually drew breath.
I'm not.
What's she gonna say?
I'm not right bothered, lads.
I would have gone with you on the Roses thing until we bought a tin, and because they're all a bit samey, whereas Quality Street there's a bit of variation. Even if you have to throw
let's not do that. Let's not go there now. Look, Roses is number 1. It is. It is.
Is it though?
It's the chocolate that we all know and love.
Cadbury's
the best.
as well. I do
It's
like
Cadbury's
chocolate, but
every time you step away from a Cadbury's bar and you come back to it, you're like, yeah, you're really good. And I'm going to say straight out, strawberries and oranges are my favourite.
Yeah, the absolute best. But then if you're going to do that, if you're going to go the Cadbury's route, you maybe go for the Heroes because they got the caramel in there. And let's face it, Cadbury's caramel. Do you know, someone should start a podcast and rate foods. That is such a good idea. Like, if someone started a podcast to rate foods, they would make so much money. They'd just be famous.
I'm just going to say, right, Heroes be bottom of the pile for me, right?
What about Celebrations, though, just to chuck it in?
They've got bounties in them, Adam.
I love a bounty.
No, I'll tell you no. Celebrations, it goes Roses, Quality Street, and then the other 2 I don't really care. It's like they can go anyway. But
where do you sit on an after 8?
Oh, big time. Big time.
You're supposed to put them in your mouth.
Devour them for you.
I sit on an after 8 big time.
They're good. I actually suck the mint out of us.
How?
You wonder how I do that? Exactly.
Yeah, because that. No,
it's really. You just bite off the corner and put your mouth in and just suck, and it'll all come out.
For the love of God, someone take that out of context, cut that bit and put a bit, please. I don't ask for much. I'm not convinced that would work.
Now look, it doesn't all come. Oh look, for fuck's sake.
We're all children. This is terrible.
The fondant centre of the After 8 chocolate little piece. When you bite the corner of this After 8 chocolate piece and put your mouth up to the After 8 chocolate piece and suck.
Calling it a piece is not making it any better.
It's not. Oh damn it! The chocolate piece.
I think we should
suck
do
the white
that.
out of the chocolate piece.
Yeah, I think. There's no way it can get any better or worse, is there? Really? Let's be honest.
There isn't really. I give up.
Well, I think that's all we have time for this week. Do make sure you go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, and for $1 a month you get to hear some very strange things this week. I think we've pretty run the gamut of everything you could ever imagine we talk about this week, actually. But yeah, patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, $1 a month, $12 a year, gets you exclusive access, early access, extended access, just lots of good stuff. Adam, Chris, he's not here this week, but It's. I thought I was going to get away with that until you laughed. But he's not. He's off doing stuff, isn't he? Let's talk about Chris for a bit. You know, he's not here. He can't stop us. Who wants to say something nice about Chris?
But you only want to say something mean, don't you? Because he's not here.
I literally just said, say something nice.
No, but you don't mean it that way. I know how you play.
No, I actually mean, let's say something nice about Chris.
Well, I think Chris is a lovely human being.
So do I.
As do I.
Nicola?
He's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't ask Gary, because... Oh, okay, that's fair enough. But, you know... I just figured he was going to ruin it with his caravan, just ploughing through. It's more of a mobile home. No, it's more of one of those. What are those ones that are on? You know, the whole thing drives. You don't need to tow them. You just a motorhome. Like he just ploughs. An RV just ploughs through walls like Mo Farah in that advert. Just ploughs through walls, telling people his awful things. He says.
Adam, what's wrong? Adam, what's wrong? What's happening?
It's just Gary's upset me talking about Captain America. But you'd have to be a Patreon to hear it. So. You know, go sign up. Yeah, that was good. That was a good advert. I was expecting credit, none came. That's fine. Adam, Nicola, and Gary, not Chris. Thank you very much for being here this week. It's been lovely chatting with you.
You're welcome.
A pleasure.
Yeah, been good.
Not you, Gary. I didn't. No, I did say you. I did say you. I've ruined my own joke.
Gary.
No, it's been great. This has been a belter of a podcast, and make sure you do subscribe. Go on iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. 5 stars. Thank you very much. Go to everything. Listen, just type God is a Geek in any of your social media stuffs, and you'll find us. And yeah, as I say, if you can review and rate on iTunes, that helps visibility, and other people get to share your love and friendship with us. Thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye bye for now.
Bye.